Infographics are an increasingly common assignment in classes, and they're also an increasingly common part of our world as they make easy and accessible, usually complex information and topics. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start from zero. What is an infographic? So infographics are sort of highly designed bundles of information highlighting facts and statistics, usually about a topic, an issue, a problem, etc. Perhaps it's best just to show you. Here's an infographic about the cost of raising a child. And you can see what they've done is they've taken one big statistic, the cost of raising a child that exists in the center there, and then they've broken it down. They have a bunch of other information, cost by region, overall versus rural housing costs, food cost by age. All of these things help us understand better what that fact, that statistic is. You can see some other things here that it is highly designed. They use a lot of good graphic design principles here in order to make this information fairly accessible. This is a fairly typical infographic, and it highlights many of the common characteristics of infographics. As I mentioned, infographics are very highly designed. They focus on visual aesthetics and the visual privileging of information, especially over text. They're often compiling a lot of facts, data, information, and statistics on that topic or issue, and again, making it accessible. In order to do that, they show it, they visualize that information in different ways, and they also provide context to that information or break it down further. There are generally two different types of formats you'll find for infographics. Here's another infographic on the same topic, done at a different time. And one infographic is just sort of a single pager. You create this infographic especially if you want to print it out at some time. It is also easy for sharing online. The other type of infographic that is common is a long image. You start with this on your phone and you've got to zoom in or on your computer, and then you scroll through it to get all of the information. These formats are often used for different types of infographics. Usually long image infographics are designed to have some sort of narrative to them. They are walking you through sort of an introduction to a topic, maybe it's historical background, then they get into contemporary issues or sort of the body section of the main information they want to highlight. Then often they end with something that's sort of a conclusion or a call to action, some idea or takeaway that is the main point of that infographic. The other type is more of sort of what I call a data dump, where you take one central topic and you just sort of organize all of your information around it, just a bunch of different facets and aspects of it. Even then, you should still have a point here, a main idea of what it is you want people to take home to guide what information you highlight. There are also process-based infographics that are showing people how to walk through a process or take certain steps, as for example, these 8 steps to apply for a child's passport. Another basic thing about infographics is that they highlight a lot of information, and in an academic context, and in life in general, you need to cite your sources. On infographics, that usually comes at the very bottom, usually in a separate color block. In an academic context, it's important to remember as well, you need to cite not only the information for where you got your facts, statistics, and data, but you should also cite where you got your media. Oftentimes, you will need to legally cite where you got images and assets from. Another key important factor in creating infographics that often gets overlooked. People often want to jump into visualizing interesting things they think about this topic, is that it's not really about you. It's about your audience. An infographic is a communicative act, and you need to know your audience specifically and what your role is to that audience. When you think about your topic, think about what relationship your audience has to that topic. Are they a group of experts about this? Are they a group of non-experts about this? Is this the first time they've ever heard about it? And that is going to guide sort of how you design not only your information, but your visual appeal as well. You also, when you're thinking about that audience, you should be very clear about what you want to say to them and what you want to highlight. because it is very, very easy for students creating infographics to really get into the weeds on a certain topic and lose track of what it is they want to say to that audience. There are many different ways that you can create infographics. There are a bunch of online infographic platforms such as Easily, Piktochart, Infogram, and Visme, among others. We could go on and on. You can, however, design infographics in a host of general design software. You can even use Google Slides or PowerPoint. Just, format your slide to be however long and tall you want. You can format it to be a single letter-sized piece of paper. When you do that, you can treat Google Slides or PowerPoint as a desktop editing program and put your information on the slide and export it as a PDF. You can also use Canva, which is online and has a broader sort of general design feel, and Adobe Illustrator and InDesign if you really want to do some hardcore infographic designing. You will likely need to get some assets in order to design your infographics. Data visualizations themselves will likely happen exported from spreadsheets or sometimes in the platforms themselves. But if you want to expand your visual assets, you may want to download icons from Icon Monster or the Noun Project, and you can also find icons in PowerPoint. When you're designing, you may also want some help with color. I always recommend color.adobe.com to help you make interesting and thoughtful color palettes. If you've never created an infographic before, or even if you're a seasoned expert, it always helps to get feedback and guidance. The Digital Act Studio is here to help you do that. You can schedule a consultation with a trained consultant where they will go through your project with you and give you feedback on how to make it more effective for whatever audience you have. We work at any point in the design process, so if you're just starting out on an infographic and really don't know where to begin, we can help you there. We can help you all the way through having a sort of finalized draft. We can give you advice and tweaks on how to make it the most effective for that audience. We don't just work on infographics, we also work on slide decks, posters, podcasts, and websites. You can schedule a consultation online using digitalactstudio.uncg.edu/APPT. At the Digital Act Studio, we look forward to helping you on all your digital media and design projects. Thank you.